Welcome to Magnet Gaming, and today we're going to look at a game called Lichdom Battlemage. It was developed and published by Xavier for the PC. There's also a PlayStation port, Xbox One version of the game, which I have not played. We're just looking at the PC version. It was built with the CryEngine 3. It was released August 26th of 2014. It's a single-player Heretic style first person shooter that is heavy on role playing skill tree mechanics. So, anyway, I'll have some footage playing on the screen as I discuss the game. Basically, this game takes place. You start off either picking a male or a female. If it's a female character, then the story begins that your sister was abducted by Shax after a dispute about a piece of jewelry the player character is selling. And if you pick the male character, Shax murders the player's character's wife after refusing to sell Shax a sword. The player character is then awoken by Roth, who reveals that he has chosen him or her to be his dragon. And whichever character the player did not choose, leaves by Roth's request to later aid the dragon and become known as the Griffin. This game is mostly voice acted. The protagonist and the Roth are voice acted quite well. And when voice acting is in the game, it is very well done. The graphics are quite beautiful in the game, as are the cutscenes. There's a lot of contrast between the brightly colored spells and the usually dark and dreary environment. The world looks quite exceptional. It is a bit linear as far as the game goes, but many games are. There's many good games that are linear in nature. But yeah, the main thing with the graphics that's impressive is you have it's the brightly colored spells and the realistic effects that they have as far as realism can be concerned with magic, that is, against a dark, dreary backdrop that helps aid the theme of the game. So, as far as the graphics, the sound effects are quite well done too. There's some spots where echo seems a bit off, or the distance between where you shot the spell or something shot you in coordination with yourself. The direction and the distance isn't quite perfect, but it's rare and not really an issue. The game relies heavily on its magic crafting system, which relies on picking 3 out of 8 sigils that can be active at a given time, and then finding stuff in the environment to level those up. Sigils include Phase, which warps space and time around the target. Corruption, which causes the target to become infested with parasites. Delirium, it's a mind control one. Kinesis is power over emotions. Necromancy is commanding the dead. Can conjure living minions to fight battles. Then you have elemental ones that are quite self-explanatory, and fire and ice. Fire and ice are the first 2 you'll come across in the game. And you also have the shield outside of the 8 sigils. What you do is you end up crafting your own spells based on what you acquire during the game and what you'd like to do. You can have 3 out of 8 schools of magic at once that are active. You pick a spell type, pick a damage type for 1 of the schools of magic, and you combine it with another school of magic to create a greater ability. You can combine all 3 to create some quite unique spells. you could also create some stuff that's not all that impressive. But it does create quite a bit of depth to the game. Essentially, this is a game about the crafting system. That's the main feature of this game that's impressive. I should say the most impressive feature. It's much like if you took Heretic, took away the reskinned weapons from Doom that Heretic had, and tack on an RPG, a modern RPG style crafting system, and updated the graphics by about 2.5 decades, you'd have Lichdom. Now, the problem is when you switch out of one school of magic to another, it results in losing the experience in that school, which means the game does become quite grindy, and you can't save wherever you want. You do rely on checkpoints. And at some points in the game, you'll go 30 seconds to a minute through a level, and you'll come across a checkpoint, and then you'll find one shortly after that, which is quite ridiculous. However, there are other times where you're going along and you'll think you're to the point where you should have a checkpoint by that point, and you won't. You'll have to go farther and farther and farther. So it's not, the checkpoints aren't spaced out in a logical way, and that definitely hurts the game, especially for somebody like myself who plays games in short bursts at times. I'll play it short bursts during my actual employment work week, and then on my days off, I might do a 10-hour straight session. But I'm not going to hold that against the game necessarily. Also, the more times you die, the less quality of the spellcraft materials there are, given the loot rarity resets on death. The user interface is somewhat confusing initially, but with some time, it's quite easy to figure out the interface. There is a simple form and a complex form to the crafting system. And eventually, once you're done with crafting all the different types of spells in the game, there are unique spells after that, but they're not so much unique in presentation and form and your experience with them. It's more just a difference between some stats here and there. But overall, despite some flaws in the checkpoint system, the game being a bit grindy, and after a while, the spell system, it can become a bit repetitive once you played for long enough. Despite all that, it is a very fun game. It does use a first-person perspective. It looks beautiful. It's quite fluid. It's a game you really get immersed in. If only they could just fix a few of the flaws and really iron out some of the details. If they could do that, this would be one of the all-time classics on my list. It'd be a top 50 game. However, even with the flaws of the game, it's still a highly recommended game. It's one of my, I'd say, top 200 or 300 favorite games of all time, and as such, I'm going to give it the score of an A-. So it's definitely a game to check out if you can track it down. And if you want to track down a copy, you can get it from GOG. Right now on GOG, Lichdom Battlemage goes for the price of, and I should have had this prepared, but I don't, so I'm looking up the price now. Alright, You can pick this up on GOG for the price of, if the internet loads. And I should mention that there has been quite a bit of criticism about the game. Received some low scores. So do keep that in mind. Don't just listen to me. I love first-person shooters. I love RPGs. And I love the game Heretic. And I love the environment of this game. So I am a bit biased towards that. So do keep that in mind. It is $39.99 on GOG. So if you want to get a copy, I'd say it's worth the $40. Definitely. If you're into first-person shooters, if you're into spellcrafting systems, if you like the game Heretic but just think it looks a bit old nowadays and you've always wanted a modern remake, this is a game to check out. Hope you enjoyed the review. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.